been reversed. So all the letters that are on the right side were what my left hand was trying to type. So it was just like totally reversed. It's in my brain, and I was just writing nonsense.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't figure out how to get one sent out.
It's interesting that you can, like, your brain says, "Oh, I could try this." Like you're conscious enough to think, I'm gonna write an email, but then you can't do the email. Yeah. It's like a totally different part of the brain that actually does the action versus the decision, right? Yeah. Making the decision to do so, and then the actual action, you're like, well, why is this not working?
Yeah, you know what you're supposed to be doing, but it's How did that make you feel? Were you, I mean, like, did you just go to another option, or are you really frustrated at this time?
No, I didn't get frustrated. I didn't get worried. I was just like, well, that doesn't work. I guess I'll just go.
Well, that's the beauty of being hit in the head, I guess.
Yeah,
like,
I guess. And I would go. Yeah, and I would go kind of in and out of even having that consciousness level.
Okay, sure.
I was more of the time I was in a daze.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't really.
That's the times that are hard for you to remember. Okay.
Yeah, those are harder for me to remember, and I just was, I don't know, just enjoying the beach in Mexico, I guess.
Do you remember eating? Do you remember ordering food? Like, conversations with anybody? I mean, like, are there other things you remember?
I don't really remember. I mean, I did go eat because it's on my tab later when I checked out of the hotel. So I did go down to the cafeteria there. I can't imagine
that tab.
Or just showing up and they're like, so what do you want? You're like, you tell me what I want.
Well, it was like buffet style, so I didn't have to talk too much. I didn't have to interact a whole lot. I did also go down and pay my tab with the dive company.
Yeah.
I tipped them really well, apparently. But they didn't have any red flags or any worries. I do really think they just thought I was really drunk.
Yeah. It's like, she's just wasted.
Yeah.
Here comes that wasted girl again.
Yeah. Yep. And I would have moments, just these short little moments of panic where, like, part of me would just say, I know I can't get on an airplane. I know I can't get on an airplane because the pressure changes. That it's something in me told me, like, this is not something I can do. And I ended up getting I think I did a voice text to my friend asking to research, like, am I okay to get on a plane? And he thought I was overreacting and was just like, oh yeah, she's just
get on it,
just like you're fine, just do what you got to do. And then he ended up talking with one of my oldest friends that I've known since I was like 13. And he got worried, so he called me, and he knew immediately when he heard my voice that something was seriously wrong.
That's good.
He knew me so well. And if it weren't for that phone call, I don't know what would have happened.
Sure.
Because he, at that point, then I don't even know what he did. He probably went through days of chaotic, worried torture, but he called the Divers Alert Network and got a hold of some people that got me to the hospital. They basically texted me the address and said, if you're not there in 30 minutes, we're calling an ambulance to drag you out of your hotel room. You have to go. He helped me coordinate, like, with my insurance. Thank God I had dive insurance on that trip.
Yeah.
And got me to the hospital. He coordinated with the hotel because I had to extend my stay because I couldn't get on a plane because it probably would have killed me. And I had to have somewhere to stay when I got out because I had to have a couple of days after my hospital stay before I could leave as well. So he coordinated all of that for me.
Wow, that's awesome.
Got me in the hospital, and I did 2 days in the hyperbaric chamber.
Okay. And was that the extent of your recovery, or what did that look like?
That was, I'm going to say that was the extent of my treatment.
Okay.
When I came home, I had to do a follow-up with a dive doctor here in Denver, and I don't know, I didn't advocate for myself very well, first of all, and I was alone. I didn't have anyone with me again, so I didn't have anyone really advocating for me, and I wasn't able to communicate well. I wasn't even able to understand what people were saying very well. So that doctor just basically told me, well, I think this is the best you're going to get, and just try and get back to normal life. And after 2 years, you'll see if you're able to make an improvement or not. This may just be how you live the rest of your life.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they just kind of sent me home. And so I went home.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah, I didn't have that reaction at the time again.
Yeah.
And I had to stay in Denver for a while because I couldn't go back to Leadville. I couldn't go back to the altitude.
Oh, yeah.
And I have a theory in my head, not proven, that being from altitude is part of what caused the problem.
Okay.
Because I process, being third generation at high altitude, I process oxygen differently.
You're going down so much lower.
Yeah, and I believe the dive that this happened on was 83 feet.
Okay.
So it's pretty deep. But I do believe that my body processes gases differently because of that. And I brought this up to Dan, which is the Divers Alert Network, and they're like, oh, we don't have any research on this because no one lives at that altitude and then becomes scuba divers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I was just like, okay, I guess we'll see what happens with me then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I basically just ended up going home, and I'll be honest, there's a good 6 months. I don't know what happened. I don't really, I lived alone as well. Yeah. So I basically went through this on my own.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, I completely respect you for that, because
very independent.
In my situation, it was the complete opposite. I like had so much family help to turn to, and for a shoulder to cry on or whatever I needed. And that, I think, like, having someone just that's there, it's just it's huge. It's so huge.
It is. And we've talked about that with a few other people with TBIs, and most of them had support.
Yeah.
Most of them had family, friends, partners, something like that were able to help them through all the different things, and to help them go, hey, guess what? You need to follow up with the doctor. We need to get you doing some therapy, all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's what Brainstorm for Brain Injury does for people that need help.
Exactly.
So it's just, if they would have had Brainstorm for Brain Injury back then, you could have called those guys or something like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I mean, there was probably a lot of resources I could have found, even. I wasn't able to.
Okay.
And that's where, like you're saying, having that support there can be pretty essential.
So now at this point, do you have, how long ago was this? When did it happen?
6 years ago.
Okay, 6 years. When did you start noticing, like, things getting better?
Improvement,
yeah.
So I kind of made them happen.
Okay.
After 6 months, I was having it's like a non-epileptic partial seizures.
Okay.
So I would just completely black out for, I don't even know, maybe days. I really don't have a time frame. And I just reached a point where I just realized I can't live like this. I can't live like this. This can't go on. I can't continue being independent.
Right.
I'm going to end up, I don't know, starving to death or something. Yeah. Like, this can't go on. And I don't know how I pulled it together enough. When I was conscious enough, I was trying to practice doing things. Like, I had to relearn how to read and everything like that. I had, everything was switched in my brain. So I'd been, picking up just the hardest books in my house to try and read when I was conscious to do those things. So I had regained some function at that point, but I had just realized I have to get help. I have to find help. I just jumped on the internet and just looked up any kind of brain help I could find.
Okay.
And I ended up finding the Amen clinics in California.
Yeah, I've heard of those.
I read Dr. Amen's books. I've read a couple of his books. Yeah, it's great.
And I ended up just basically emptying what savings I had left and getting myself to California and doing a week long of tests with them and getting brain scans. And they did everything: blood work, psych evals,
great,
brain scans, all of the above. And then again, I didn't have an advocate with me at the time, so I didn't really grasp everything they were telling me, but they sent me home with this folder that's like an inch thick of all of my results, all of their findings, everything I can do about them, ways I can implement, different things to change my mindset. And they ended up finding things going on in my brain that were happening before this injury that I needed to work on as well, just different imbalances that were already there.
Okay.
And what I could implement in like the smallest little steps that I could implement to just even start making a difference. And I went home and I immediately changed my diet. I just started changing things to be food that would feed my brain.
Right.
Not
Decrease
detract from it.
inflammation.
Exactly.
For sure.
And then I upped my omega 3, 6, and 9, like through the roof. They sent me home with like the strongest omega supplements I've ever seen. And that made such a difference that I'm like, oh, I have enough clarity now that I can take the next step.
Yeah.
Okay.
And from there,
That's
I just
good.
kept building.
So, you're saying that the Amen Clinic is where you first started to see results?
Yeah. Well, it was after I had been there.
Yeah.
It was implementing what they showed me
Right.
when I was back at home. Definitely.
Yeah. That's like
awesome.
And like just researching by yourself, it's almost a requirement for brain injury cases, because I looked up like a stem cell clinical trial and I got on that, and that helped me out so much. And like, I'm just always looking for something to the next thing that could help me.
And you did that in Colorado, didn't you?
I did that in California.
Oh, in California.
Yeah. But I went to the TBI therapy in Basalt, Colorado, and they do like hyperbaric chamber actually. Because that decreases your inflammation.
Right.
And so,
Right.
but, it's just, you sometimes gotta just research on your own. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, it sounds like you did a lot of this on your own.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Man, we give you a ton of props for that. That's incredible.
That's Iron Will.
That's right. We need to ring our bell. Do we have something? Iron Will. We got to get something better than that.
Yeah. So, I want to know, like, what has the years after your injury looked like? Like, are you doing, like, do you find yourself being more empathetic towards other people that are going through similar struggles and stuff like that?
Oh, absolutely. Especially with anything that is brain injury related, I definitely, there's a special empathy there, but I also find myself just being more empathetic in general.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know, there's something about realizing like that really could have killed me.
Yeah.
And I want to do better in my life and appreciate those around me. And it just, it's just honestly, this brain injury has been the best gift I've ever been given.
Yeah.
Because it just totally stopped me in my tracks from everything negative I was doing and just flipped it around.
Isn't that crazy to think about your brain injury that way? Like I feel the exact same way, but isn't that a weird thing to think about your brain injury? Like that's the greatest blessing you've ever gotten. And I've said that time and time again. And so
you have in multiple, and we've had other people say the same thing.
Yeah, it's just really it was the best opportunity I could have had. I don't know as if I look at other people I know dealing with addictions and with, some of the mental imbalances that I was dealing with, and they just getting out of that is such a struggle. And you have to get out of that before you can start improving things. And I got a shortcut. I got it just decimated for me. I got those patterns just destroyed. Right. And I got the opportunity to just reprogram and rewire my brain the way I wanted it to be without all of those things. So it really was a shortcut. It was a blessing.